Chapter 5. Cracks in the glass. Bianca could no longer sleep in Ari's bed. She told herself it was the coastal wind rattling the window panes or the scent of his cologne clinging to the sheets. But the truth was simpler. Guilt was starting to rot her from the inside out. She'd built this life on lies. But the house of mirrors she lived in was beginning to reflect more than she could manage. Ari didn't question her when she requested separate rooms. He nodded with quiet understanding, ever the gentleman. Always composed, always polite. It made her hate him a little more. That morning she met Fiona in the conservatory for their weekly tea, another charade. Fiona sat with her legs crossed, at the ankle, stirring sugar into her cup like she was orchestrating a symphony. "I saw you with Brandon," she said, without preamble. Bianca froze, her fingers tightening around the porcelain teacup. Fiona didn't look up. "Don't act surprised. You're not subtle. You never were." "There's nothing going on," Bianca said calmly, placing her cup down. Fiona raised her eyes now sharply. "You think I don't know you? I see the way you breathe around him, like you've finally come alive." Bianca met her gaze. "You always hated it when I acted like you." Fiona leaned forward, her voice low. "Darling, I am you just 20 years wiser. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't let desire ruin the plan. You married Ari for a reason. Don't lose everything for a boy who flirts with shadows." Bianca stood. "I didn't marry Ari to keep your legacy safe, mother. I married him to destroy it." Fiona's smile faltered for a split second. "Be careful when you play God. The thunder eventually finds you." Bianca walked out without another word. Later that day, she found Brandon in the estate's west wing alone in the music room. He was playing something on the grand piano, haunting, incomplete, a melody that sounded like confession. She stepped inside, closing the door quietly. "You don't strike me as the piano type," she said. He stopped playing but didn't look up. "I don't strike you as a lot of things." There was silence between them. Then she moved toward him, each step deliberate. "You should stay away from me," she whispered. "I've tried. You're making this harder than it needs to be." He finally looked at her, eyes dark with want. "Then tell me to leave." She opened her mouth and couldn't. Instead, her fingers touched the keys beside his, their hands brushing. The music returned, this time faster, clashing notes building tension in the space between them. When their lips met, it was electric, angry, starved, but brief. Bianca pulled away, heart racing. "This can't happen." "It already did," Brandon said, breathless. She left him there, eyes wide, mouth parted, soul spiraling. As the door shut behind her, she knew she had just crossed a line she could never uncross, and somewhere deep in the walls of the Daniels estate, something shifted, like the house knew, like it was listening. Chapter 6. The Daniels estate was built to withstand storms, literal and otherwise, but lately it creaked with secrets, whispered conversations behind closed doors, lingering glances in passing hallways, and Ari Daniels felt it. He watched Bianca more closely now. She had become quieter, her answers more measured. She barely touched her food at dinner. Her laughter, once soft and polite, was now absent altogether. He noticed the way her fingers trembled when she poured her tea, the way she jumped when someone said Brandon's name. And Brandon, Ari wasn't blind to the sudden presence of his nephew. Once a wanderer, now practically a fixture in the estate, he walked the halls like he owned them, slept late, drank early, lingered in places he had no business being, like Bianca's art studio. So when Ari found Brandon alone in the library that afternoon, the air between them shifted. "You seem comfortable here," Ari said, walking in slowly. Brandon looked up from a leather-bound volume he clearly wasn't reading. "I'm family. Isn't that what you always said?" "I meant in spirit, not in real estate." Brandon smirked. "I can leave if I'm overstaying." Ari smiled tightly. "No need, just respect boundaries." There it was, not a warning, a reminder. Brandon nodded, but his eyes said more. What if I already crossed them? Meanwhile, in the guest parlor, Fiona was on the phone, her voice low, her tone clipped. "Yes, I need full surveillance footage from the estate. No, not the obvious cameras. The backups, the ones hidden in the corners of the hallways. I want timestamps. Audio if you have it." A pause. "No, I don't care about legality. Just send it, discreetly." She ended the call, fingers drumming against her wineglass. Bianca was reckless, and Fiona would not have her daughter destroy everything she'd built just to feel wanted for once in her life. If she had to tear down her own blood to preserve the Daniels name, so be it. Upstairs, Bianca sat in front of her easel, staring at a blank canvas she hadn't painted in days. Her mind was cluttered with guilt, with lust, with something far more dangerous, longing. Brandon haunted her like a fever. His voice, his touch, the feel of his mouth against hers. She had meant to stop, she had meant to forget, but the truth was, she couldn't. There was a knock at the door, not loud, intentional. "Come in," she called, already knowing Brandon stepped in. Closing the door behind him, he looked exhausted, like the chaos was catching up to him too. He didn't speak, just walked to her and took her face in his hands. "I can't keep pretending," he whispered. She closed her eyes. "I dream about you," he said. Every night, even when I try not to. Her voice cracked. This is wrong, but it's real. Their kiss this time was different. Slow, sad, like two people clinging to the edge of a cliff with no hope of rescue, and beneath them, the ocean of consequence waited patiently. Chapter 7. The flash drive arrived in a plain envelope, slid under Fiona's bedroom door without a note. She didn't need one. The sender knew. She'd understand. And when she inserted it into her laptop and opened the grainy footage, her breath hitched it not out of shock, but satisfaction. There were Bianca and Brandon in the music room, tangled in shadows and sin lips, hands, desperation. Fiona paused, the frame mid-kiss, eyes narrowing. Stupid girl, she whispered. She had warned Bianca, had handed her the blueprint for survival. Marry rich, play silent, win quietly. But no, Bianca had to burn the entire empire for a taste of chaos. Fiona leaned back, dialing a number. When the man answered, she didn't bother with pleasantries. Leak this, and I'll destroy you, but keep it safe. We may need leverage soon. Then she hung up. Meanwhile, Bianca sat at the edge of the estate's cliff path, the sea crashing below, her hair wild in the wind. She needed the sound of the ocean to drown the noise inside her. She didn't hear Ari approach. Beautiful, isn't it? He said, settling beside her. This view, she nodded cautiously. It is. He handed her a folded scarf. It looked cold, kind, thoughtful, too much. Thank you, she said, taking it. They sat in silence for a long while before Ari finally spoke again softly, like a confession. I wasn't a good husband to Margaret, his first wife. I was distracted, ambitious. I didn't see she was drowning, even when she was standing right in front of me. Bianca turned, surprised. I've made mistakes, he continued, but I want to be better this time. With you. I don't expect your love, Bianca. I only ask for your honesty. Her heart clenched. Guilt wrapped around her ribs like a vice. She wanted to scream. I'm not who you think I am. I've kissed your nephew. I dream about him. I ache for him in ways I shouldn't. But instead, she said, I'll try. He smiled faintly, standing. That's all I ask. As he walked back to the house, Bianca stayed frozen, the scarf slipping from her hands. Behind her, a twig snapped. She turned sharply. Brandon stood a few paces away, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. You heard that, she said. He nodded, and I don't know whether to hate him or pity him. Bianca stood. We have to stop, he looked at her. You said that before. I mean it now. If he finds out, he won't. Brandon interrupted. Unless someone tells him. She stepped closer. We're being watched. I feel it, like something's coming. He hesitated. I'll handle it, he said finally. Whatever it is, I'll protect you. But even as he said it, he wasn't sure he believed himself, because deep down Brandon knew the only thing more dangerous than loving Bianca was being loved by her in return. Chapter 8. The knock on Bianca's door was sharp, 3 deliberate raps. When she opened it, Fiona didn't wait for an invitation. She stepped inside with the confidence of a woman who had built dynasties and buried scandals without smudging. Her lipstick. Bianca folded her arms. To what do I owe the pleasure? Fiona turned, eyes cold, and held up a small silver flash drive to the recklessness of youth. Bianca's face paled. Fiona smiled thinly. Don't insult me by pretending you don't know what's on this. Bianca tried to steady her voice. Where did you get it? That's irrelevant, Fiona said, circling her daughter like a predator. What matters is what I do with it. Bianca clenched her fists. You wouldn't. I would, Fiona said, her voice like ice cracking. Not because I want to hurt you, Bianca, but because you're about to ruin everything. Our reputation, your marriage, your future. Bianca blinked. My future? Yes, yours, Fiona snapped. You think Ari married you for love? No, he married you because I made you indispensable. Because I built you into the perfect social asset. And now you're risking it all for a boy who flirts with rebellion and smells like cheap whiskey. Brandon's more honest than anyone in this house. Fiona laughed bitterly. Honest? Darling, Brandon has more skeletons than this estate has rooms. Bianca stepped forward. If you had something real on him, you'd use it. I don't need to. You're the weakness. You always have been. Bianca's voice dropped. What do you want? Fiona paused, then walked to the vanity and placed the flash drive down gently. You're going to end this tonight, and you're going to start acting like the woman I raised you to be, calculated, polished, untouchable. Bianca stared at the drive. And if I don't? Fiona looked back at her with a stillness that terrified. Then, I'll give this to Ari, and the Daniels name will never recover from the scandal. Neither will you. With that, she left. The door clicked shut. Bianca's knees buckled as she collapsed onto the velvet bench, staring at her reflection in the mirror. She didn't recognize the girl in front of her anymore. Later that night, she met Brandon in the garden where the moonlight silvered everything it touched. He was already there, pacing. I've been thinking. He started. We could leave, get away from this mess, start over. Somewhere no one knows us. She reached for his hand and gently pulled it away. No, she said. His brow furrowed. Bianca, they'll destroy you, she whispered. They already have everything they need. He stared at her, wounded and furious. You're giving up. I'm protecting you. He took a shaky breath. I don't want protection. I want you. She touched his cheek, the moment thick with unspoken goodbye. You had me, she whispered, but some things were never meant to survive the light. And then she walked away, back to the mansion, back to Ari, back to the throne her mother had carved from silence and sacrifice. Because sometimes, to keep power, you must bury your heart alive. Chapter 9. The mansion's halls were quiet, but Bianca's heart thundered like a storm. She slipped through the shadows toward the old greenhouse, her secret sanctuary and Brandon's refuge from the eyes of the world. The glass panes were fogged from the heat inside. Soft music from a forgotten radio mingled with the scent of jasmine and earth. Brandon stood by the window, gazing out at the night. When he turned, his eyes found hers, dark and electric. No one should be here, he whispered. Then, let's not get caught, she said, stepping closer. Their lips met, hungry, desperate, an explosion of everything they'd denied themselves, fingers tangled in hair, hands tracing the contours of forbidden skin beneath the thin fabric of their clothes. Every touch was a risk, every breath stolen between them, a stolen moment from a world that wouldn't understand. Bianca's mind raced to Reese.com voice. Fiona's warnings all faded beneath the fire Brandon ignited inside her. They collapsed onto a bed of soft moss and petals, the night wrapping around them like a cloak. Why do we keep doing this? She asked between kisses. Because it's the only time we feel alive, Brandon answered. But it's poison, she said, pulling back, eyes searching. Here's then, let's be poisoned together. Hours passed in a blur of skin and whispered promises. Yet even in their closeness, a shadow lingered in unspoken fear. What happens if we're found? Bianca's voice trembled. Brandon's hand tightened around hers. Then we face it, together. But as dawn crept through the glass ceiling, reality bled back in. She dressed slowly, the weight of their secret pressing down. Brandon kissed her forehead softly. I love you, Bianca, even if this world won't accept it. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I love you too, she whispered, knowing that love might not be enough to save them. Chapter 10. The Daniels estate was cloaked in darkness, save for the flickering light of a single candle that danced shadows across the library walls. Bianca and Brandon moved silently, their footsteps muffled by the thick Persian rug beneath them. This was their Havana secret refuge, carved from stolen moments and whispered promises. Brandon pulled Bianca closer, his breath warm against her. Yeah, one more night, he murmured. Just one more. Her heart pounded wildly. We shouldn't, but we will. His lips found hers again, fierce and hungry. Time blurred as they lost themselves in each other, two souls tangled in a forbidden embrace. Suddenly, a sharp creak sliced through the silence. Their lips parted, eyes wide with shock. Ari stood in the doorway, framed by the dim light from the hall. His face was a storm of pain and anger, his gaze burning into them like wildfire. Enough. His voice was steady, but beneath it simmered years of betrayal. Brandon stepped forward, tension coiling in his muscles. Ari, listen. No, Ari interrupted, voice cutting through the thick air. I trusted you, Bianca. Both of you. Bianca's legs trembled, but she stood her ground. It's not what you think it is, exactly what I think. Ari's jaw clenched tightly. You've torn this family apart. Before Brandon could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway. Fiona appeared, her eyes sharp and calculating, a faint, cruel smile playing on her lips. In her hand, she held the silver flash drive, their secret weapon. So, Fiona said smoothly, voice dripping with satisfaction. This is the grand finale. The moment all the pieces fall into place. Bianca, breath hitched. Mom, Fiona cut her off with a raised hand. Silence. I've been waiting for this moment a long time. She advanced into the room, eyes locked on Brandon. You thought you could come here, seduce my daughter, and ruin everything I built. Foolish. Brandon's fists clenched. We never wanted to ruin anything, only to find something real. Fiona's smile twisted. Real love. These are luxuries for people without secrets and skeletons. But you, she held up the flash drive. I have everything. Every stolen kiss, every whispered promise, every late night you thought was hidden. Ari's eyes flicked to the device, then back to Bianca and Brandon. Why didn't you tell me? His voice broke. Was I so blind? Bianca's throat tightened, tears threatening to spill. I was scared. I thought I could fix it before it hurt anyone. Too late, Ari said, stepping forward. Too late for forgiveness. The tension in the room thickened as thunder rumbled outside, the storm mirroring the tempest within. Fiona's gaze swept the trio like a queen surveying her conquered territory. Now, we decide what comes next. Bianca swallowed hard, voice barely a whisper. What do you want? Fiona's eyes gleamed coldly. I want power, control, and I want you to understand that nothing, not even love, is above the family. Name. Brandon stepped protectively in front of Bianca. We won't be pawns in your game. Fiona laughed, a chilling sound that echoed off the walls. Oh, but you already are. Ari's expression was torn, the man caught between loyalty and heartbreak. Suddenly, the power flickered on. The library was plunged into darkness. In the shadows, voices whispered. Footsteps approached. Bianca's heart stopped. We're not alone, Brandon whispered. Fiona's smile faded, replaced by a flicker of fear. Daughtry reached out, gripping Bianca's hand tightly. Whatever happens, we face it together. Lightning flashed, illuminating the room for a brief second, revealing a figure silhouetted in the door.